Ostara, Easter to many people. It's all about the beginnings, potential. It's all about those eggs that I spoke about before from the hare who got his lip split. Right there. By the moon goddess who wanted to tell us about immortality. But instead he got the wind in his ears and everything just went to pot. But he got us the eggs of potential. What's your potential? What's your new beginning? This is going to be a short one today. I see you go, because it's Monday. It's the beginning of a week. So let's talk about potentials. Let's talk about how potential can stay in the egg, or we can crack that egg open and make something of it. Let's talk about how we actually can get off our backsides. Perhaps not literally at the moment, although we can, because we can get up and move around our living rooms and inside our counties. For the moment, hopefully that will change soon. However, a lot of it is what happens up here. There's something that happens with some of us, that we have all the best intentions, and yet they just don't grow to anything. Those eggs of potential are still sitting there, festering, becoming nothing. And the whole thing about potential is that it's actually not a longevity thing. Potential is there as your blue touch paper. Potential is nothing if it's not actually acted upon. When are you going to act? When are you going to, as Mr. Robbins says, take massive action? Or even just the teeny tiniest little twitch, which might make the difference. Remember, one snowflake can make an avalanche eventually. We all have the most amazing potentials inside us. It doesn't necessarily, as we spoke about last week, mean what we learn at school. We have a brain that can cross oceans, that can cross worlds, universes. We do it in our dreams. We can dream as big as we want to, or we can dream really small and hold ourselves in this circling pattern above the airstrip, which if we landed upon it might take us into a new country, a new way of being, a new idea. Does your heart pitter-patter at the idea, or does it cringe? What is it that keeps us where we are? If it's fear, what is there to be afraid of? We are built to adapt and survive. We are built to go forward and progress. Sometimes we do it in such a way that we leave quite a mess behind us. And some of us sit in that mess for a long time. Some of us for all time. You might be sitting on your settee at the moment watching this and have an idea just stirring in the back of your mind, like something that you stowed away in a cupboard a long time ago and forgot about. But it's waiting. It's waiting for you to open the cupboard and dig around and find it again, that little treasure whose time might be now. Because you put it away because the time wasn't quite right yet. You could feel that perhaps. Or you had too many other things going on, which were what? Doing the dishes, making a meal, arranging to go out for a night on the town. What was it? Looking after someone perhaps. Okay, I'll give you that one. I know what that's like. But it doesn't stop you from doing other things. It doesn't stop you from writing. It doesn't stop you from reading. It doesn't stop you from actually formulating a plan, making a goal, executing that goal, understanding that you can put things in motion. Even while you're in a holding pattern, you can be putting things ready, in motion, in order to, when you step off that plane, when you land it, you hit the ground running. Very easily these words trip off my mouth, out of my mouth, and off my tongue. And I know myself that saying it is one thing and doing it is another. I got very used to the universe helping me out a lot. And then I think the universe decided that perhaps I should help myself. And it became a little harder to do things. It became a lot harder when I got ill. However, I viewed that as being in a kind of limbo. While I was ill, I was still thinking. They may have been kind of mixed up and mucked up thoughts at the time, but I was still thinking. I was still looking at options. Still not going too far into the future, but thinking to myself, if I can do this today, can I do it tomorrow? And if I can do it tomorrow, can I do it the next day? How do I find the balance where I can keep this going so that I can actually build up to doing things beyond even this? I used a multitude of tools at my disposal. And it's amazing when you actually look at things, how many tools and resources you have at your disposal. And many of them live in here. Because perhaps we're taught that we are not supposed to shine, that not everyone is meant for a grand fate, a beautiful destiny. That may be the case, but it might be something that you do, that you put into motion, that makes someone else like their blue touch paper and give themselves a grand destiny, which basically means it's partly yours too. We are all here and we all have an effect on each other. You've seen what fear can do when it's applied. It goes through like dominoes falling. And then suddenly everybody's running about like headless chickens, wondering what to do. It's the ones who remain calm and standing who can see further. You could be one of those. You can understand that there are things even within limits that are made upon you that you can do to expand your knowledge and increase your influence. Not necessarily over other people, but particularly over yourself. And one of the best influences is to allow the influences of others not to take hold with yourself. You have choices. Choices are decisions in waiting. You can make a choice and then tarry a little until the choice makes itself, because the timing is totally gone. You can make a decision and then tarry. And then people get afraid and think, oh, not going to happen, is it? And they just disappear. And then you make a self-fulfilling prophecy. Well, it doesn't matter what I do, it doesn't work. How are you choosing to do that to yourself? How are you choosing to believe that you don't have your own destiny in your own hands? Think about it. Have a muse on that. Read some things about destiny and free will. Read some things that are beyond your usual scope. I'm going to tell you that one of the best books I ever found on that subject was Mastering Your Hidden Self by Serge Kahili King. I used that right the way through chemo. And beyond, I still use it. And I actually refer people to it when they come to me as clients. It hit me so much I even started writing little bits about it myself. And that when it's collated, because I am in a holding pattern with that and I recognise it, but I'm telling you now, that book is coming. There are many things that happen that we can allow the normal detritus of the day to get in the way of. We have to have not only vision, but in some cases laser focus and intention. We have to have perhaps one thing that is ours and ours alone, that we practice on, that we look at, that we focus on, that we do. Just one thing. And that one thing can take you to another thing, and another thing, and another thing, and another thing, and before you know it, you have a hand. And hands can do lots of things. So give yourself a hand. Find out what you can do, even if it's just reading about it at the moment. Make something happen for you. Because when it happens for ourselves, it makes us feel good inside. We've accomplished something. It doesn't matter if anyone else thinks that it's woo-woo, or it's crap, or it's just, what are you wasting your time on that for? That basically means you could be wasting your time on me. Or, I don't understand that, so if I don't understand that, why are you doing it? It's making me feel stupid or unable, or whatever the adjective is for that person's insecurities. It's a bit like when someone gives up smoking, or they are trying to give up smoking, which basically means that they probably won't. As soon as you mention, and I have personal experience of this, as soon as you mention that you're going to give up smoking, the first thing that they do is launch a cigarette into your face. Particularly when you've been drinking, because that's when you're particularly susceptible to the suggestion. Because I know with me, it was a case of a social thing. Drink in one hand, cigarette in the other. It also happens when there's a shock, like when you get bad news. And actually, that was the first thing I turned to, because it was a comfort. Drink in one hand, cigarette in the other. And I'd stopped smoking for like 5 months before that. But it was the trigger, it was my dopamine in there going, hey, smoking helps here. Actually, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's one of those things that takes your mind off it. And actually, it's just making the thing last longer, because at one point, you're going to have to grieve. You're going to have to get over this idea of the shock. You're going to have to understand that things have changed. Something happened. It has to be dealt with. And there are processes for that. And cigarettes and alcohol don't need to be in the process. But we do that because we've been taught that's how something is done. I need a stiff drink, I've just had a shock. Is alcohol the best way to go about that? There are, of course, levels. A stiff drink, good shot, and sort of bolster you up and say, okay, that's taking the edge off of that. Now the bottle goes away and the brain starts working. It's a crutch. Most of the things that we do to push things to the side is procrastination. And procrastination is a crutch for actually not developing the thought that you thought in the first place. Think about it now. When we have this breath, this space between breaths that we're still in, The lungs are filling. Yes, we know that we're going to be able to exhale quite shortly. It's got to happen. One way or another, we have to exhale. Otherwise, we're just going to burst and it's going to be a hell of a mess. So think about it. Have a muse on this. Amuse yourself with the idea that you have potential. This season that we have at the moment is full of potential. These buds are coming up, they're growing up. They don't know anything about what's going on. They just know that they want to find the sun. They want to fulfill their destiny of being what they are. They're never going to be anything else, but they can be the best at what they are. They can bloom, they can grow, they can feel the sun on their faces. Their roots can go right into the earth and draw up all the nutrients from there. The energy that they bring, that they exude, allows us to look at them and go, oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, that's wonderful. That makes me feel happy. Maybe you don't feel happy when you see things like that. Maybe there's something else that makes you happy, that you see grow, that you see bloom, that you see step into its own power. As humans, we are nomadic in our growing, in our powers. We have more possibilities than we even realise, because we dig a rut and we sit in it. We stick there and it's like, yeah, I'm in a rut. Yeah, well, I'm in this rut. That's what I do. It's all I can do. Can't do anything else. Oh yeah, I've thought about it, but nobody in my family's ever done anything like that. Why should I be different? Because you are. And no matter what age you are, you can still be different. You can still get out of that rut. You can still change your mind and your mindset and do something different. Read something different. Read something that would be totally opposite to what you normally like. If you like romance, why not try a science fiction thing by Ursula Le Guin? She's quite good. Or read a fairy tale. Go back to the old grim fairy tales. Find the really grim ones, they're fantastic, particularly at the moment. It's going to blow your mind. And then think about what the story is actually about. And we'll maybe have a talk about that tomorrow. In the meantime, you have potential. Please take it out of the cupboard. Please crack the egg. Make an omelette. And feed yourself some wonderful things. I'll see you tomorrow.